You're home alone, lights off, scrolling your phone. It's late, but you're not tired, not really. Then, movement, just over your shoulder. You turn, nothing. Just an empty doorway. Still, something in your body reacts. Like a whisper your brain hasn't caught up with yet. Something was standing there, watching. You laugh it off, but it keeps happening. Always in the same place, always just out of focus. What if you're not imagining it? What if you're not alone? They call them shadow people, dark silhouettes that appear in doorways, figures that stand at the foot of your bed, or worse, just out of sight. Always watching, never speaking. Some say they're hallucinations, side effects of sleep paralysis, exhaustion, drugs or stress. Others say they're spirits, demons, djinn, entities feeding on fear, or visions from somewhere else. But whatever they are, people have been seeing them for centuries. Tonight we're going to ask the question: are shadow people just the mind misfiring in the dark, or are they something else entirely? Let's start with the classic story. You're asleep, or maybe you think you are. You wake up frozen, can't move, can't speak. Something in the room with you. Not a burglar, not a dream, a tall figure. Black, human, but not. It stands at the end of the bed, or in the doorway, or crouched in the corner like it's waiting for something. You try to scream, try to move. You can't. It just stands there, watching. Then, just as suddenly, it's gone. Now, if this were just one person's nightmare, we could leave it there, but it's not. People around the world, different cultures, different decades, different centuries even, describe the same thing. A shadowy human shape, no face, no eyes, sometimes a hat, sometimes a coat. Always silent, always vanishing just as you look at it directly. Some call him the Hat Man, others just say, it. When I asked some people about this, one woman wrote to me, "Every night when I pass the living room there's a figure near the window. I've stopped turning the light on, I just say good night and keep walking." Another person shared, "I always thought I was losing it. I kept seeing someone standing next to the fridge, always when I was alone, always just out of the corner of my eye." Not every story happens in bed. Some happen at work, at school, on the road. Shadow people aren't just night terrors. Sometimes they show up when you're wide awake. Sometimes you feel them before you see them. And this isn't just a modern thing. In Native American Choctaw legend, there's a creature called Nalusachito. Apologies to anyone that speaks Choctaw that I horribly mispronounced that, by the way. He's a massive black figure that creeps into the hearts of people consumed by darkness. In Islamic law, djinn are beings made of smokeless fire. They live unseen until they don't. In medieval Europe, they called it the Old Hag, a presence that sat on your chest at night and drained the life from your dreams. Every culture has a name for the thing in the corner of the room, the thing that watches but doesn't speak, the thing you're not sure was ever there. So the question becomes, are shadow people an ancient thing that's always been with us, or are they just what happens when our minds wander into the dark? Up next, we look at the science. What does your brain do when it thinks you're in danger but can't see what's watching? Let's say for a moment that there's nothing supernatural going on. Let's say you really are alone in that room. Then what just happened? Why do you feel like something's there, watching? Why do you see it? When you sleep, your brain shuts off your body's movement so you don't act out your dreams, but sometimes you wake up before that switch flips back on. You're conscious, you can't move. You're stuck between sleep and wake, dream and reality. And in that blur, your brain does what it always does. It fills in the blanks. A presence, a figure, a threat. It's not random. The brain defaults to shadows, eyes, movement, because deep down you're still wired to survive a world full of predators. You're not seeing a demon, you're seeing your ancient alarm system glitch out. But here's the thing, it feels real. Heart pounding, body frozen, breath held. And to the people it happens to, that feeling doesn't go away just because science has a name for it. And what about those moments in the corner of your eye? That's where pareidolia comes in. Your brain's job is to detect patterns, especially human shapes and faces. It's so good at it, it sees them when they don't even exist. A coat on a chair, a lamp, a shadow moving across a wall. Just enough information for your brain to go, there's someone there. Peripheral vision is even more vulnerable. It's built to catch motion, not detail. So if something flickers at the edge of your sight, your brain fills in the rest. That's why people see someone, not a dog or a lamp or a blur. Almost always it's a person-shaped shadow, and almost always it's watching. Some researchers believe it goes deeper than optical illusions. That under stress, trauma, or extreme exhaustion, your brain can create presence hallucinations. The sense that someone is in the room with you, even when you know you're alone. Others point to neurological issues like temporal lobe seizures, or dopamine imbalances in the case of schizophrenia, sleep deprivation, or drug use. In fact, people who abuse certain drugs like meth or high doses of diphenhydramine, which is a sedative, often report seeing shadow people. Not monsters, not lights, always people, always just beyond reach. So yes, there are scientific explanations, some very convincing ones. Our brains are flawed, fearful, overstimulated machines. And if they occasionally invent dark figures to haunt us in the night, maybe it's no surprise. But that still leaves a question. If this is all just neurons firing wrong, why do people across the globe, across centuries, see the same thing? Why the tall silhouette, the hat, the stare? Why does it feel like whatever it is knows you're looking? Next we explore the other theories, the ones science can't quite pin down. Let's say it's not your brain. Let's say it's not sleep paralysis. Let's say it's real, because a lot of people believe it is. Some say shadow people are spirits, not ghosts exactly, more like echoes. Entities that were never alive but have always been there, watching, feeding, following. Others say they're demons, beings of pure malice that slip through cracks in reality. You don't see them unless they want to be seen, and when you do, it's too late. In Islamic tradition, they might be djinn, beings of smokeless fire, invisible to humans but very real. They live alongside us, sometimes peacefully, sometimes not. The Choctaw feared Nalusa Chito, the great black being that crept into people's hearts when they were weak, afraid, or full of hate. A shadow that eats souls, not because it's evil, but because that's what it does. Some say these figures aren't spirits or demons at all, but interdimensional visitors. Not from the afterlife, but from somewhere sideways. Beings that slip in when no one's looking, who can't quite hold their shape in our reality. So we see them how we understand them, as shadows, as silhouettes, as watchers. And then there's the Hat Man. He shows up in sleep paralysis, he shows up in drug trips, he shows up in ghost stories across cultures, across decades. Tall, still, dressed in something that doesn't quite match any era, like a memory of someone who never existed. And he's never doing anything, he just watches. Thousands of people, many of them strangers to each other, have described the exact same figure. What are the odds of that? In occult circles, shadow beings are seen as low-vibration astral parasites. They feed on fear, on chaos. They're drawn to trauma, conflict and grief. They linger around people who are vulnerable, tired, broken. Which might explain why, once you've seen one, they tend to come back. Now maybe these are just metaphors, ways to explain what we don't understand. But for some people, these things are very real. They don't just see shadow people, they move out of houses, they burn sage, they pray, they stay up all night with the lights on. Because whatever they saw, it wasn't just in their head. So maybe it's not about proving anything. Maybe it's about asking, what if you're not alone? What if the thing in the corner of your eye is watching? Next up, let's bring it together, mind, myth and memory, because in the end this isn't about belief, it's about what you felt. So here's what we know. There is a scientific explanation: sleep paralysis, stress, pareidolia, brain chemistry. A mind caught between states can conjure anything, and what it conjures most often is a shadow. But here's what we also know. People have seen these things for centuries, different names, different cultures, same shape, same silence, same fear. Maybe the brain is just a haunted house with electric wiring. Maybe we carry these shadows inside us, and sometimes we catch them slipping out. Or maybe someone's watching, something old, something that knows just where to stand so you'll always miss it. I'm not here to tell you what's real. I'm here to ask, what did you see? Have you ever felt watched in an empty room? Have you ever seen something move where nothing should have been? Have you ever glanced to the side and caught a figure that wasn't there? Leave your story in the comments. Let's see how many of us have shared this shadow. At Noir Frequency, we tune into the things most people ignore. The glitches, the myths, the weird truths we don't have language for. If that's the kind of signal you want more of, subscribe. We're just getting started. If you found something in this transmission, if it made you think, question, or just feel a little less alone, consider supporting Noir Frequency. You can follow the show on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Some platforms may insert ads, but as a small channel I don't make anything from them at the time this episode went live. For an ad-free feed and to keep the signal alive, you can join the Patreon. Patreon supporters get early access, bonus content, and a cleaner listening experience. If you want to carry the frequency with you, I've designed a collection of shirts at noirfrequency.com. And if you just want to show support without spending anything, liking, subscribing and sharing the broadcast with friends is a huge help. Thanks for being here.